Next up, KHON2's very own interviews Louis Zamperini and Phil Allen to recount their story of survival, resilience, and redemption, and answer how they stayed strong throughout their times as prisoners of war in Japan during World War II. Here is Emily Friedman with the latest.
Thanks, Nicole. I'm Emily, reporting live from Los Angeles. I'm about to delve into the exhilarating life of Louis Zamperini, prisoner of war during World War II. He defied every odd and has accomplished numerous astounding feats, all recorded in Lauren Hillenbrand's book on Bergman. For those of you who do not know, your resilience and ability to create mischief has followed you your whole life. How did that develop?
Well, it all started when I was a child. My family immigrated from Italy, and I did not speak much English when I first moved to Torrance. I was a target for having Italian roots and would be picked on. I would say that this fueled my unruly nature. My father taught me to box for self-defense. I became so good at it that I was beating the tar out of every one of them. But I was so good at it that I started to realize the idea of getting even, and I was sort of addicted to it.
How did your rebellious nature change while growing up?
I eventually focused my explosive attitude towards track and field. My brother Pete first reeled me into the sport when I got in trouble at school. Channeling my feelings into running was freeing for me.
What kept you hooked on running?
It was the recognition. Nobody in school, except for a few of my buddies, knew my name before I started running. Then, as I started winning races, the other kids called me by my name. Pete eventually told me I had to quit drinking and smoking if I wanted to do well. And that I had to run. I decided that summer to go all out. Overnight, I became fanatical. I didn't even have a milkshake.
It seems all that hard work paid off. You went to the University of Southern California and even made it to the 1936 Berlin Olympics. How did the overall experience influence pieces of your future?
It was a privilege and an honor to be a participant at the Games, but the personal qualities I developed trying to get there were what stuck with me. The dedication required to keep me running through oppressive heat was great, and I would say that it definitely stuck with me, even when I was a POW. I was on the brink of death from very, and perhaps its determination helped me live.
You enlisted to the United States Army Air Corps in September of 1941, and you commissioned as a second lieutenant. You served as bombardier of the B-24 submarine. How did the beginning of the war impact you?
The start of the war seemed almost unreal. People I knew would be dead and gone in a blink of an eye, with more people to take their place. Although I was in a transient community, I made some of the greatest relationships of my life. Along with those was Russell Allen Phillips, with whom I was assigned and lost at sea.
Sadly, Phillips passed away in 1998, but here's an exclusive interview from 1997, filmed from his perspective.
As a prankster. In Kahuku, we'd always tease our lieutenant. One time he ordered us back into the air after one of our engines died, so Louis said we would fly on 3 engines so long as the lieutenant joined us. Another time, Louis ended up coating the man with dough.
Louis certainly sounds like a riot. Was he able to focus himself when the time came? Really become serious and dedicated to his job?
I think so. Once the crew got over the fear of the plane crashing, the engines dying, and the brake fluid running out, or one of the other miscellaneous issues the flying cockpit always had, Louis' scores for bombing were nearly triple that of our squadron's average.
Flying seemed to be more of a hazard than battle, and it ended up being that way for you and the rest of Superman's crew. How would you say the crashing journey on the raft changed your relationship?
Well, for starters, there were only 3 of us left, so our group's dynamic was forever altered. Other than that, it strengthened it. It forced us into the oddest teamwork situations, like beating away sharks and inflating the thing keeping us alive. But that forced us to seal an already tight bond. Unfortunately, we also lost McNamara. I think the only reason he lived so long was because Louis was there to keep him with us, alive.
You and Louis became incredibly close-knit on that raft. How did becoming prisoners of war affect that?
Needless to say, being separated in enemy territory in a jail cell, knowing how poorly I was being treated would equal the quality of his living, and the complete engulfing fear was not a good start. I only know he was alive based on moans and pleas for water. Then we moved to Afuna. The treatment and living conditions were not any better, but Louis' rebellious nature did peak out. He beat a runner in a race, but it wasn't a good idea. He stole food from the kitchen, also not the best idea. It was tempting though. Based on the stories I've heard since we were separated into different camps, he kept causing trouble. He stole anything and everything just because he could. He wouldn't let himself be knocked down by the bird, and he refused to record propaganda, and even more. Even though I wasn't there, I knew he didn't give up on giving home.
Now that the Unbroken movie and book have both been released, your stirring story is published. What might you want the public to take away from it?
I know that this is a rather cheesy answer, however, it is the best lesson anyone can learn. I would hope that if anyone can learn from my story, it would be resilience. I mean, coming back from my almost criminal life and becoming an Olympian and surviving almost 50 days on a rubber raft are not easy feats, and someone may be inspired to conquer their own challenges. I hope the film's audience won't let themselves get knocked out easily. When it happens, I really hope that they get back up, and if it's because of my story, that I am definitely more glad that I told it.